Hello, ATI families. This is Summer back with the second part of what's happening at ATI. This time we're talking about an idea that's part of social emotional learning called the resiliency window. And uh, again, my name's Summer Brandon. I'm your school director. If we haven't had a chance to meet, feel free to reach out to me at my contact information below. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you if we haven't done that yet. Today, we're going to talk about a bit of brain science that can help a person understand how they're going through their day, why maybe they're reacting the way that they are, and what they can do about being able to be in charge of your brain and not let your brain or emotion centers kind of run away with you. So, we teach this to all students who are new to ATI on the very first day of school with us. That first day is called intake, where they're learning the systems of our school and kind of understand how we work. So everybody at ATI has learned this. So we want to share it with you so that you feel equipped to talk with your kids about this, or if they're mentioning they flipped their lid, you understand what's happening. So this lesson is true for all people. So every human, every person has a stress baseline, a place where they sort of start when they wake up in the morning. And it's based on, your brain sets this based on your life, your context, what you experience day to day. And it also has what we would call a flip line. This is the point at which your brain is maybe not thinking so clearly anymore. The part of your brain that's really thinking is this cortex, especially this prefrontal cortex right here. This is the part of your brain that makes good decisions, that thinks about if I do this, what would happen down the line. It can sort of consider options, it can predict outcomes or consequences. It's also the part of the brain that's not done until you're about 25. That makes it harder. The flip line, when you cross that flip line, that part that's really great in thinking sort of disengages and says, I don't know that I'm the best part to help you right now, person. You seem to be under threat or in danger. And it puts this limbic system, it's kind of marked by that green star. It's in sort of the center of your brain. So if this was your brain, this is the prefrontal cortex right here. The limbic system's inside, right? So this limbic system takes over. Unfortunately, all it can really do is tell you to fight, fly, run away, or freeze. So when somebody crosses the flip line, they have really big responses because they think they're in a survival situation, they're under threat or in danger, and the limbic system is really in charge. The space between those two lines is called your resiliency window. The bigger your window, the more space you have to really stay yourself, to be the person you are, to make decisions, to really think about your options. So, in a typical day, all kinds of things happen to us, right? So, you might wake up in the morning and, oh my gosh, you remember that you were supposed to make breakfast for somebody else, but oh, that's okay. They found breakfast for themselves and your stress line goes down. But maybe then you're on your way to the bus and you think, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it. It's going to come too early. I'm going to miss it. But you do catch it and your stress level goes back down. Things like this happen all day long because we're humans in a world that's complex. So your stress level may go up and down, and that's okay. You've stayed inside your resiliency window. So even though you felt stressed, maybe your breathing got fast, your heart rate went up, you still were in control of your decisions. Now, if you have a day like this, and most people do at some point in their life, where conditions in your life or the things that happened in your day end up being so stressful or feeling so stressful or maybe so risky, or it might feel threatening, that at some point that thing that happens, or enough things have happened that have added up, that you go up over this flip line, right? So you didn't have breakfast, but you found an apple. You were feeling late for the bus and you missed it, but you know another one's coming, so it's okay. But that bus is late, and bam, you're up over this line. To other people watching, it might not feel like such a big event that sends you up over the line, right? Like the bus being late isn't the end of the world. But in your brain at that time, it feels enough of a threat that your brain flips its lid. That thinking part says, you know what? I'm not really in charge now. And the reaction limbic system part says, I got it. I'm going to trigger fight, flight, or freeze. And a person might, in that moment, look really aggressive. They might be in fight mode, right? They're really amped up. They're Their heart rate is high. They've got all sorts of adrenaline running through their system because they're ready to react. A different person going over that line, having that same sort of experience, might run away. They might literally leave or run away. They might sort of withdraw into themselves. They might do something that makes you want to leave so that they don't have to deal with the person or around them, or they might freeze. And freeze is, if a person can't fight their way out of a situation and they can't leave it, they might sort of disconnect so they don't have to deal with it mentally, right? They don't want to feel it, they don't want to know it, so they might really kind of go blank. That's what freeze might look like in a person. So when they go over this line, they aren't in control. They really aren't thinking. You may have had those moments or known somebody. You think, what were you thinking when you flipped that table over? What were you thinking when you left your job in the middle of the shift? What were you thinking? The answer really might be they weren't. They were reacting and in survival mode because their brain had hit this line where they said, you know what? I can't do it. And I just need the brain to help me survive, fight, flight, freeze. And it takes a while, 15, 20 minutes to come back down under this line. And then you're still really close to it, right? So if something else happens, you might pop back over, and that's exhausting. Now imagine this. Imagine if your stress baseline was here. What if your life felt really threatening, felt really unsafe, or felt really unpredictable and you weren't sure what was going to happen day to day? Those conditions can bring your stress line way up. So you're not going from 0 to 100, you're already starting at 90, right? And you're so on alert for threats that little things, just not having your breakfast, can put you up over that line. All kinds of things can put you up over that line. And it's just a hard way to live because when you're over that line, you're not thinking. You can do things that are really hurtful. You can do things that you wouldn't do if you were really thinking, if you were in charge of your brain. So that could be a really tough way to live. And maybe you've seen like that experience. Maybe you've felt that yourself. Maybe you've seen somebody else feel that, or have a day-to-day life like that. Not fun, or not fun to be around, and doesn't feel good if you're that person because you're certainly not somebody that's wanting to try to hurt everybody or make everybody else's life hard. But your brain is always putting you on high alert, always putting you in fight, flight, freeze mode. This is that hand signal we use for that flip the lid at ATI. So, what do we do about that? Turns out we can actually do quite a lot. So, the flip line is sort of set. It's hard to impact that, but your brain is really malleable. It can adjust, it can learn and get better at things. So, you can push your stress line down with practice over time. And how do we do that? Well, we do that with things that can help your body feel calm, help reduce your heart rate, and send signals that your brain doesn't need those stress hormones. They don't need those stress chemicals. You don't need adrenaline going through your body. Everything's okay. And you can do that when you're feeling stressed, when your brain's kind of here, you feel like you're close to the flip line, but you can also do it anytime when you're already feeling okay. Practicing these things just every day, even if you already feel calm, can push that stress baseline down. So, doing things like these that were suggested by students in intake, we brainstorm what are things that help you feel calm if you're feeling stressed. And everybody that's come through our program has had at least one thing they already knew how to do, but we want a whole menu of things so that in different circumstances, you've got lots of tools to help yourself be calm and to stay what we'd say is regulated, right? You're in charge. Your fight, flight, freeze response is not in charge. So, calm breathing, going outside, getting in nature, eat a snack, look at something that you find beautiful, draw a doodle, color, do something that takes your mind off that you have to focus on, do something you already love, skateboarding, gardening, or listen to a song, talk to a friend. Or somebody brought these 5 things to us. You focus on 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. And by the time you do that, it takes, a few minutes and you've given your brain time to sort of relax a little bit. I like in particular this breathing strategy. It's a really fast way to bring your heart rate down and help your body decide that it doesn't have to fight or run away, that it can be safe and calm where it is. And so I use what's called hand breathing, and I'll teach it to you. It's pretty easy because all you need is your hands. So when you trace your hand with a finger, and every time you go up, you take a breath in, every time you go down, you breathe out. And by the time you're done, you've taken 5 deep breaths, and that does a lot. So if we try it, you're breathing in. And that last long breath out is great for triggering the part of your nervous system that says calm down. It's called your parasympathetic nervous system. That long breath out really helps your body realize it's all right. We can calm down. And that helps that prefrontal cortex, that thinking part, get back in charge so that whatever's happening, you can make decisions about, you can consider your options about. So, uh, none of these are very fancy, and there's a whole bunch of them. You probably have some that aren't on this list that you use. It would be great if you talked with your family about it, right? So that you can help the people around you understand what's happening with their brains. It's really tough if your brain is flipping and you don't know that that's how brains work. It could be easy to think that you're maybe a bad person or you aren't able to do anything about your brain. You are able to do stuff about your brain. You are not a bad person. You're working with a brain that is set to survive. So, why do we teach this at ATI? I bet you have some ideas about why this would be helpful for teenagers in particular to understand because their prefrontal cortex isn't done, right? They're working with not yet a full set of brain tools, and that makes it especially hard to stay below that flip line. So, why would we teach this? Because we want our students to be equipped for successful lives. And no matter what that life looks like, whether they're headed to the Supreme Court or they're going to bake amazing cupcakes for their whole life, they want to open a business, they're going to need to be able to deal with stressful situations in ways that are safe and productive. They're going to have to be able to work with all kinds of people. They're going to need to recover from frustration and failure because we all have those in our days. And we want to build those skills now, practice them now with a community that's safe and we all understand what's going on. Because if they can build these skills to live in their resiliency window, to keep that nice and wide, they're going to give themselves all kinds of options in life. And that's what we really want. So hopefully this was helpful to learn and helpful to understand one of the things that's happening with students when they come to ATI, and maybe something that you could use in your life too. I know I appreciated learning it as an adult and a person who works with other people, that when I see somebody getting near that or flipping their lid, I have some ideas about what I can do to be helpful. And I understand that maybe the thing that happened that's bringing them to the flip line isn't really the issue. The thing that's happening is that they've had this whole cascade of events, and this last thing is just the last thing that's pushing them over that flip line. And if I can wait 15 or 20 minutes and come back later, that I bet we could work it out. So thank you for joining us for this edition of What's Happening at ATI. I hope that you have a great day and that we'll see you for the last installment. Bye-bye.